The individual in question, who has been my closest associate and the object of my romantic affections since our 10th year of schooling, has now betrayed me. It is therefore my intention to provide some background information. My wife and I commenced our relationship in our formative years of education. I first made contact with her when she was in a relationship with Tristan, who also features as a central figure in this account. Tristan and I were on friendly terms, but not particularly close. However, once I met my wife, I rapidly developed strong feelings for her throughout my entire freshman year. I hoped that she and Tristan would break up so that I could have a chance with her eventually. My wish was granted, and in the 10th grade, I became friends with her and asked her out. Our relationship was one of the highlights of my high school experience, and being with her helped me navigate the challenges of those 4 years. Since Tristan and my wife had only dated as freshmen, he did not seem bothered by the fact that I was now dating his ex. In fact, he even gave me his blessing when I asked if it was all right. By the time we reached senior year, Tristan and I had become close buddies, and there was no indication that he harbored any ill feelings towards me for dating his ex. The girlfriend from freshman year, the three of us ended up attending the same local state college. I maintained my relationship with my wife while also nurturing my friendship with Tristan. However, there were moments when it was evident that Tristan was attracted to my wife. I would catch him staring at her during parties. One of my other friends even disclosed that Tristan had expressed a desire to have closeness with my wife. While it bothered me, I understood that my wife is attractive and it's natural for other men to find her appealing. Despite the fact that other men, including my friends, found her appealing, I was not concerned as long as they did not make any advances. However, it was evident that Tristan was strongly attracted to her. Over the course of our friendship, he would occasionally make subtle comments about her appearance and how fortunate I was to be with her. Fast forward to the present, more than a decade later, my wife and I are now happily married with 2 wonderful children, a son and a daughter. Meanwhile, Tristan recently went through a tough divorce with his ex-wife. My wife's divorce took a toll on him, leaving him feeling depressed. I wanted to be there for him emotionally, but unfortunately, the demands of my job and my own mental health struggles left me with very little time to spare. However, my wife stepped in and offered her support while he was going through his difficult time, although they hadn't been particularly close since college. My wife was not pleased with Tristan's womanizing tendencies. However, following his divorce and her support of him, I observed a notable shift in their behavior towards each other. Whenever Tristan would visit to socialize with me, my wife would consistently sit next to him, laugh at his jokes, and even inquire about his next visit. I took note of this and found it troubling. I was troubled by this, but I did not wish to raise the issue, as I was reluctant to appear possessive. Furthermore, I was grateful that Tristan had someone to turn to when I was unable to be there for him. However, the situation continued to develop until my wife would visit Tristan at his house while I was at work. In September, the situation reached a critical point, and I finally spoke up to express my discomfort. Instead of expressing anger or accusing me of being controlling, my wife apologized and acknowledged that she had become overly invested in the friendship. She promised to respect my boundaries. I mustered the courage to inquire about her feelings for Tristan. She admitted that she had developed some attraction to him and that Tristan had flirted with her. However, she reassured me that nothing had ever happened between them. Learning this news was distressing, and I informed my wife that I did not want her to spend time with Tristan. She concurred and expressed remorse for her actions. For the following 2 weeks, everything appeared to be normal, except that I began to avoid Tristan at the beginning of this month. My wife and I engaged in a significant conflict. Regarding financial difficulties, she has been experiencing challenges in securing employment since the pandemic began to subside. Despite the availability of numerous job opportunities, she has been unable to obtain employment. My position alone was insufficient to support our family of 4, resulting in significant financial strain. The argument intensified to the point where she abruptly departed and did not return for several hours. I did not pursue further discussion. I inquired as to her whereabouts, but she appeared disheveled and had a peculiar expression on her face. Despite this, I was disinclined to engage in conversation with her and thus did not inquire about her whereabouts. Let us now fast forward to Thanksgiving. We had extended invitations to my entire family and a number of friends, including Tristan, with whom I had not spoken for over a month. Everything proceeded smoothly until the discussion of politics was initiated by an unidentified individual. Tristan, a staunch supporter of the Trump administration, and I, a self-identified liberal, hold diametrically opposed views on this matter. It is therefore requested that any further debate on this topic be avoided in the comments section. Normally, we avoid discussing politics in our relationship. However, on this occasion, Tristan seemed determined to engage in this topic. The conversation rapidly became heated, with personal attacks were exchanged. Tristan accused me of being a weak, ineffectual man due to my liberal beliefs. I inquired about the rationale behind this assertion. In response, he asserted that I was unable to satisfy my wife. This assertion took me and the entire dinner table by surprise. My wife and I had never discussed our sexual lives in front of anyone. The remainder of the dinner was characterized by awkward silence. After dinner, when everyone had departed, I confronted my wife and Tristan. My wife averted her gaze while Tristan met my eyes and admitted to engaging in sexual intercourse with my wife on November 4th, the same day we had engaged in a significant altercation. He stated that she had sought his counsel and that they had subsequently embraced and engaged in sexual intercourse. Despite initially resisting and stating that it was wrong, she eventually acquiesced. Throughout this ordeal, my wife remained silent and avoided eye contact, rather than expressing anger. I was rendered speechless and unable to respond effectively. After a brief period of silence, Tristan departed, leaving me alone with my wife. She subsequently broke down in tears, stating that it was she described it as the worst mistake of her life. She explained that the stress from my job, the care of our children, and my personal issues, which made me distant, had made her feel unwanted. Tristan's attention and flirting made her feel good, and she gave in to the temptation. She informed me that she had no intention of engaging in any sexual activity with Tristan, despite his indications of wanting to sleep with her. They engaged in social interaction. She stated that she was merely seeking attention from him while I was absent. She admitted that it was a moment of weakness after our conflict that led her to establish any degree of closeness with him. I expressed my displeasure and requested that she leave me alone, indicating that I needed time to process the situation. She proceeded to her room but later emerged to attempt communication and negotiation. Each time I expressed my disapproval and demanded that she remove herself from my presence. As I compose this account, I am overwhelmed with a profound sense of devastation. I have never experienced such intense pain before. The aftermath of this revelation was akin to navigating a minefield. I was not merely angry, I was consumed by a seething rage that was as potent as it was raw. Not only had I been betrayed by Tristan, but I also felt betrayed by my wife. I had placed my trust in them, and they had violated that trust. I was resolved to take control of the situation. I concluded that it was time for the truth to be revealed. If my parents were aware of my wife's infidelity, then it was only fair that her parents should also be informed. They had always held me in high regard and had never been particularly fond of Tristan. They were taken aback when I informed them of the situation. They expressed disbelief at the suggestion that their daughter could be capable of such deceit. Then there were the news rapidly disseminated throughout our social circle. The image of the ideal couple, high school sweethearts, was suddenly shattered. My wife was enraged, accusing me of ruining her reputation. However, I was indifferent to her accusations. I was no longer willing to play the role of a dutiful husband, protecting her reputation while she destroyed mine. The news revealed that Tristan was my ex-husband. My wife also contacted me with a proposition that was as surprising as it was appealing. She offered to assist me in seeking retribution against Tristan. Her divorce was evidence of her continued animosity towards him. She revealed a secret that Tristan had been concealing. He had engaged in financial fraud at his firm, which he had previously worked at. My wife had the evidence and was willing to allow me to expose him. We did so, and we submitted the documents to the police. From there, events rapidly unfolded. Tristan lost his job, his friends, and his freedom. Seeing him in court was difficult. He did not appear to be himself. The lively and charming individual I had known was replaced by a man who looked much older than he was. He appeared tired. He had brought this upon himself, and while one part of me was gratified to see him face the consequences of his actions, another part of me felt compassion for him. He had caused significant disruption to my life, and now his own life was in ruins. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, which was met with shock by all. My wife called me hysterical, labeling me a vindictive person, and expressed her desire to reconcile with Tristan. However, this was no longer a possibility. I derived a certain satisfaction from her distress. It was a small consolation for the pain she had caused me. The man who had everything lost it all because he coveted what wasn't his. My wife, who had been unfaithful, was now alone, hated by her parents, shamed by her friends, and abandoned by her lover. I was left to pick up the pieces of a shattered marriage and a broken. Despite my emotional distress, I was resolute in my decision not to allow this betrayal to define me. I took control of the situation, revealed the truth, and sought justice. While my heart remained broken, I was determined not to let them win. They had attempted to break me, but they had only succeeded in making me stronger. I was committed to moving on, while they were left to heal. This was not for them, but for my own sake, for my children, and for the man I knew. For months prior, my best friend's wife informed me that my wife and her husband were having an affair. My wife was meticulous in concealing the affair, yet the other betrayed spouse was not my wife. OBS furnished me with substantial evidence, including explicit texts and images. It transpired that the affair had been ongoing for several years. Upon discerning the full extent of the betrayal, I terminated the relationship. I located call logs and texts dating during the period when I was engaged in lengthy work hours to complete my engineering degree. There were occasions when my wife claimed to be attending social gatherings with her friends, yet I was in fact at home attending to the needs of our children. It subsequently became apparent that her friends were engaged in extramarital relationships and were providing each other with support and assistance. OBS elected to reconcile with their spouse due to financial considerations. Despite the limitations, I ultimately decided to terminate my relationship with my unfaithful partner. I sought legal counsel and devised a plan of action before confronting her. Once I had everything in place, I removed my wife from the marital residence, changed the locks, divided our financial accounts, and served her with divorce papers. She has no claim to the marital home, and I had movers send her belongings to her parents' residence. Since the separation, she has been forced to find alternative accommodation with college-age roommates and has commenced employment at 2 different locations in order to maintain financial stability. Both her parents and my own parents have attempted to facilitate an intervention, urging us to reconcile for the sake of our children. However, the reality is that our children are doing just fine. They spend the majority of their time with me. Our parents have been hearing her sob stories while she downplays the fact that she was having an affair with my best friend all along. According to her, she's really sorry, so everything should be okay. They criticized me for publicly. Furthermore, they have criticized my decision to expose her affair and to terminate our relationship, characterizing it as immature and vindictive. They have also expressed the opinion that maintaining contact with the betrayed spouse is inappropriate, despite the fact that we have been friends with her and her family for more than 10 years. They have even accused us of having an inappropriate relationship. In the absence of any evidence whatsoever, it seems pertinent to set the record straight. It is not the case that we are engaging in any form of closeness, nor are we kissing, dating, or engaging in any other form of romantic or sexual contact. Our relationship is purely platonic, based on a mutual exchange of assistance with childcare and the occasional coffee and chat. For instance, I save her a plate of food when her children stay for dinner, and on a few occasions a week, she is in. Class. OBS does not have much familial support in our state, as her own family has distanced themselves from her following the revelation of her husband's illicit activities. These included sexual relations with minors, including her underage cousin, and the embezzlement of funds from real estate investors. This occurred shortly after he was exposed for cheating, following the discovery of his affair with my soon-to-be ex-wife. The individual in question is to be ex. The wife has also come forward with allegations against the accused, stating that she and several other women have pressed charges. Additionally, the accused is involved in real estate development, a fact that became apparent when investors discovered that he had been misusing funds. These funds were spent on unauthorized repairs done by unlicensed workers, evaded taxes, and took shortcuts. The total amount spent on these repairs is estimated to be approximately $500,000. Furthermore, he was found to have charged for work that he did not actually complete, used his business card for personal expenses unrelated to work, and failed to complete necessary building approvals and inspections. It is noteworthy that he will be released from jail at approximately the same time he becomes eligible for senior citizen discounts. What is even more surprising is that he had been able to avoid accountability for these actions for over a decade. Furthermore, he appeared to be making a considerable amount of money as he seemed competent in his job. Even his investors were taken by surprise. I am at a loss for words. I feel completely shattered and betrayed once again, despite having made it clear that it is over and having tried my best to minimize contact. She refuses to accept this and now has everyone on her side. However, I am not willing to take her back. Her remorse is limited to the fact that she was caught and her lover was imprisoned and lost a great deal of money. She does not express regret for betraying me for years while making me appear foolish. I invested significant effort over many years to establish a stable life for us, and this is how I am compensated. Had she not been discovered by his wife, she would likely still be engaging in sexual relations with him in hotel rooms or his vehicle. The individual in question is, in fact, my former romantic partner. Furthermore, the wife asserts that the betrayed spouse, OBS, exposed her as a form of retribution and to ultimately usurp her life. Presently, she is acting as though she is saving herself for a potential reconciliation with the husband. OBS's life has been a complete and utter disaster. She and her children were left with no financial resources and nearly became homeless after the aforementioned individual seized all of their assets. I have done my utmost to prevent such an outcome. She has lost the majority of her family members as a result of this situation. It is important to note that none of these events were her fault, and she was just as shocked as I was. She has been a true friend and a source of support throughout all of this. In reflecting on this, it is important to consider that loyalty, trust, and respect are the fundamental values that underpin any relationship. When these values are compromised, the very essence of the relationship is lost. The original poster's wife not only engaged in infidelity but also maintained this deceit for years, all the while enjoying the benefits of his hard work. It is noteworthy that, after being exposed and facing the consequences of her actions, the woman suddenly feels remorse, but is this genuine remorse or merely regret at being caught? Furthermore, should the original poster accept her back for the sake of the children or the sanctity of marriage? It is important to remember that a marriage without trust is akin to a car without gas. It may remain stationary for an extended period, but it will not progress. While staying together for the sake of the children may appear to be a noble decision, what message does it convey to the children about the acceptability of disrespecting one's partner? It is possible to avoid the consequences of one's actions by demonstrating regret when caught. However, this man's partner did not accept his repentance. In return for his efforts to provide a good life for his family, he was betrayed. He demonstrated remarkable strength in standing up for himself, moving on, and supporting OBS, who was also a victim of this web of deceit. It is important to remember that actions have consequences, which can be severe. The question remains whether the original poster should consider reconciliation or remain firm in his decision to move on and rebuild his life away from the shadows of betrayal. Let us engage in a constructive dialogue in the comments section below. As always, we encourage you to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, remember to always respect your relationships, be honest, and do the right thing because you never know when karma might come knocking.